Sometimes it's not in the words that they tell me, but you have to hold the line for inclusion.
Whoa.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Today we're talking with Kevin Gillese, a film writer and producer at Dad's Garage. Kevin builds inclusion through storytelling and self-advocacy for his characters in film, starting with recognition of his film short, That Was Awesome. We're going to discuss disability representation in his soon-to-be-released film, How to Ruin the Holidays, which you can watch the trailer for at howtoruintheholidaysmovie.com. Kevin, I'd like to welcome you to the DadnNat podcast. We are very excited that you're here. There was a Kickstarter project that opened up a couple of years ago for a movie that you're producing, How to Ruin Your Holidays. And we were super excited to see that. And one of the things that Natalie and Angela and I talk about all the time is how there needs to be more disability representation in film. And one of the things that caught us on early was the That Was Awesome short film that you produced. Do you want to talk about that, or do you want to say anything about the film?
It's called That Was Awesome, and it's a short film, although it's not that short, which is a testament to my rookie filmmaker status at that time. I made an 18-minute long short film, but I made it working with the MJCCA, the Jewish Community Center here in Atlanta. And it was a really special project for me because I got to work with this group of actors with disabilities. And so I created a script based on having met them and seeing what we had access to in the building. So I wrote this floor hockey script because they said that we could use the gym to shoot on for a day.
Yeah.
And floor hockey gear, and I like hockey because I'm Canadian. So I wrote this little thing and we produced it, and it turned out really good. And the most important thing about it is that that's how I met Luke Davis, who is an incredible actor, and he ended up starring in the film that I'm promoting right now.
We were really excited to see him back for that. Nat, any favorites, or do you want to say anything about That Was Awesome?
Yeah, That Was Awesome was a incredible short, by the way. We had it was definitely inspirational, I think, to us and to every single one of all those who have watched it. And when I say all those that have watched it, I mean those who have disabilities. And I think to those who have someone with a disability, I think, as well, and those who will be experiencing watching How to Ruin the Holidays as well.
I hope so. So.
Exactly.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and start with the getting to know you questions. I'll kick it off, and Nat, I'm going to let you ask question number 2 because that's her favorite of hers. So just to begin, Kevin, we want to know what are 3 things about growing up in Edmonton that you think everyone should know, and the level of complexity on this question is that you can't mention oil or hockey. So.
Yeah, and that actually makes it quite difficult, but I'm going to try to answer anyways. I'll say, when I was growing up as a kid, there was times it would get so cold, if you were outside, you could spit and your spit would freeze before it hits the ground. So that's something. We have West Edmonton Mall, which at one time was the biggest mall in North America. But
wow.
It no longer is. It has been dethroned many years ago. And it still kind of stands like this kind of, like, you know, when you go to like a country and they say, oh, well, the golden era of this country was in the 1500s. So you see these old buildings that are kind of crumbling now, but it's a testament to a time when they had greatness. That's what West Edmonton Mall is now for Edmonton.
It's your 80s homage to capitalism.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'll say a fun thing to do. This isn't hockey related, but it's close. It's adjacent. A really fun thing to do in Edmonton in the wintertime is go skating at Horillac Park.
Oh, yeah.
They have the outside ice, and you can like go skate amongst the trees. And for people that aren't used to those kind of wintertime activities, it's pretty magical.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's really cool.
Ferda.
Oh, Ferda. Natalie's watching too many hockey-related, hockey-adjacent films. So, Natalie, what's question 2? Oh, I saw a teaser on your screen.
Yes. So, question number 2 is the Fireware, the game company, got started in Edmonton and created the Mass Effect series of video games. If you were a character in one of their games, who or what would you be? And do you play the video games? We're asking because apparently my sister is a big fan of the games.
That is understated.
Well, we've got a cool connection to it, so I'll tell you about it. If I could be any character, I would be Commander Shepard, because my friend Mark Meir is the voice of Commander Shepard.
Oh,
and
that's cool.
He does an uncredited cameo in the movie. Have you guys seen How to Ruin the Holidays?
Oh, we definitely have. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Great.
My name is in the.
Sweet. Okay, cool. So when they're flying, when at the very beginning of the movie, when she's flying back to Atlanta, and you hear a voice that says, "Welcome to Atlanta," the local, you know, there's like, that's Mark Meir, who is my friend, who is the voice of Commander Shepard.
That is awesome. That is awesome. I love that.
My sister is gonna love that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But to answer the rest of the question, that's the only character I know, because I don't really play those kinds of games, so I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
No worries.
Well, it's a good game according to my sister. So
yeah, okay. She's 100% like, you know, everything Shepard. She's got personalized plays that say Andromeda on her car. It's a little obsessive. So we're gonna get her together.
Yeah.
So, next question. You are currently leading a business called Dad's Garage TV. So we want to ask you, what is something that belongs in a dad's garage that you can never find? That is,
I don't know. Book of Spells. Necronomicon or a grimoire, one of those like ancient evil books with untold powers.
You're moving the Makita drill manual, and there it is.
Yeah, I think I'm just saying that because it's like we're in Halloween mode right now. We're just a few days out from Halloween as we record this, and so that's what's on my mind.
Oh no, it's awesome. That's awesome. I love that. Now, do you want to ask the next question?
Oh,
and this is a film reference, so.
Why did it take you so long to come out as a Toto fan?
You know, sometimes when you love something so much that if people knew, you're a little embarrassed because of how earnest and sincere that love is. Sometimes you feel like you have to hide it away. But then as you get older, you get more mature, you get more comfortable with yourself, you realize, you know what? I'm not ashamed. I love the band Toto, and I don't care who knows it. And that's where I'm at. That's the phase of life I'm at now. But I had to get here.
That scene is definitely iconic in the film.
Well, yeah, and we don't want to give away too much, but that was definitely a favorite for us. And I will tell you, we were gonna try, but I think we would fail miserably if we tried to give you the rendition that we have right now. So, but it's on our working list. We're gonna actually master that, and we'll get a video out at some point.
That is so cool, you guys. That is
Yeah,
so cool.
it'll be fun.
I have my own tambourine and ukulele.
It's going to be good.
I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Look for it. We're gonna do this. And the last question, what is something that you would like to be known for before you leave the planet? What's something that's like big and ambitious that you want to be, like, your name is attached to it?
Um, yeah, I don't know, man. I get, wow. I'm like, I'm such an emotional person. I'm like getting emotional trying to answer that question.
No, that's cool. And to be
Um,
honest, if it's just something to be like, you're in everyone's memory when when you leave.
no, it's more like just like being kind, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I love that answer. I love
Yeah.
that answer. So I have to just because of the be kind thing, I have to tell you, I made this for you. This is yours. It's from Heart of America. I just thought that that scene in particular was just
Oh,
particularly funny to me.
I can't, that is so, I can't believe, that's unbelievable.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
it's
Part of America when George comes out and
so
Amber.
funny.
Oh, wow.
I,
Man, that is so cool.
I have this whole thing about like ever since I put this shirt on, I'm a target. Like I don't know if people are going to come up and hug me or punch me. So it's
Wow, Greg, I'm blown away, man. That's so cool. Thank you,
yeah,
guys.
no worries, no worries. I was thinking like I had to do something, and this was my homage to you, and make fun of it as you will, but it's
No, I think it's
great,
cool, man. I think
great
it's
part of the
cool.
great part of the film. So let's go ahead and move into some family discussion now. Do you want to ask the first question?
So you have said before that growing up with your brother Mark was a big reason that you connected, that you connected you with his struggle. Can you talk a little bit about that relationship and what it means to you?
Yeah, for sure. It's funny because, he's just my brother Mark is just 1 year younger than me. So we're so close in age that it's referred to as Irish twins,
Oh yeah, yeah,
right?
I know
Yeah.
that term. Yep.
Yeah. And so we grew up in the same environment, in the same house with the same family, but our lives are so different, and um, you know, what can I say? Like when you love somebody, and you see them struggle, it's hard, you know?
Yeah.
So, man, I am not doing a pro job on this interview. I'm like getting super emotional, but it's just because you guys are so real and you're asking real questions, and it's like Saturday afternoon and I'm just like wearing my heart on my sleeve. So I'm gonna try to get my crap together here a little bit. And
Well,
I'll just say
Kevin, maybe we can start. And I know that Natalie knows this too, but we've grown up kind of in the same place, for Natalie. And throughout the years, she has an older sister and an older brother who've ended up having to kind of watch out for her at times. I mean, Natalie has always been very open and sort of gratuitous to others. If they want to play with their toys when she was young, she would let them. But there was some advantage being taken by other kids who would just take things and not bring them back, and that sort of thing. So it started at a really young age where I think before Natalie was able to kind of like think about her independence and being able to defend herself, her brother and sister were stepping in and playing that role. And Natalie has sort of become her own advocate. She realizes that importance. But the one thing that I will say about family of somebody who has a disability is that you really learn early to kind of think more than yourself, and that is a lesson I think that's sort of in common for all of us. So
for sure. And you know what that reminds me of is the fact that, you know, growing up, my parents were split up. So we were living with my mom, but she was working full time and there was all these boys. And so we were kind of looking out for each other. And so that's part of like what made that relationship close. But anyways, like whatever, I was the best man at his wedding. You know what I mean? Like we've been through all like so many different things. And you know, I just we're super close, and so yeah, of course I'm going to care about the stuff that affects him.
Yeah, definitely. We looked at some of his Facebook, and he's definitely one of your biggest fans as far as like the movies and stuff go. I mean, I love watching a few of the little blurbs that he posted online for you. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
So I'll ask this for Natalie. It'll come back later, but Natalie has a saying about you know, everyone should be able to do what they love, and this is something that will tie back into another question later on. But when you think back about you and Mark, what are some of the things that kind of brought you guys together that there was sort of like common interest in, and how did you bond with him and with your other brothers when you were growing up?
Well, I'll tell you this. Roughhousing was definitely a shared language, right? When you got 4 boys in the range of 5 years, so we're all hitting kind of the same stages as we grow up together. Yep. Man, the wrestling matches were epic. And it's funny because Mark was always bigger and stronger than the rest of us, so he kind of had an Incredible Hulk vibe going. Yeah. But the thing that really was a common interest for me and Mark, specifically us two, not just like all the boys, was making people laugh. We're both like jokesters and we try to like get laughs, you know? Yeah. And so we're doing that together, and we always have, you know? It continues to this day. And as you guys probably saw, I tried to channel some of that spirit into the film and say like, hey, you know, like, I don't see a lot of like, you know, characters in movies and film and TV that have disabilities that are like super funny. But in my experience, my brother's hilarious. So I tried to show that, you know?
Yeah. There's some very crisp lines that Luke delivers. I'll say I love that. I love that.
It's absolutely hilarious. All in the entire film is hilarious, I think.
So Nat, do you want to ask the next question?
So are you involved in Special Olympics at all?
Are you now, or have you ever been involved? It's like a court question, but go for it.
I'm not involved. My only involvement has been through my brother. I did a pro bono improv workshop
cool.
for a bunch of the athletes when I was back in Edmonton. But I haven't really had that much direct involvement. But can I tell you guys a funny story about Special Olympics with my brother Mark?
Yeah.
This is unbelievable. It's like Christmas time. I'm back for Christmas. So I was already living in Atlanta. I was back home for Christmas.
Yeah.
And my brother Mark comes in the front door, and he's coming from Special Olympics.
Yeah.
He's got a wicked shiner. And I go, Mark, what happened? And he just goes, you should see the other guy. Right. Yeah. And so we're laughing like, oh, he's being all tough. But then we find out it wasn't a game. He was at a practice. So he was in practice with his own teammate, which I found out was his buddy Clifford, who is one of his best friends, you know. So I was just like, Special Olympics, this has got way more hardcore than I thought, you know.
That's like, you know, competition is here and, you know, it goes up here now. It's like that is crazy.
Yeah. So we just all thought it was so funny how hard they were going in practice.
Yeah. Wow. It can be that competitive.
Well, okay, but Natalie, what's the thing that you say when you get mad? What are you gonna do? Kick that?
I'll kick somebody. I'll kick a soccer ball in somebody's face if I get so bad.
She'll come back and she's just like, I did not like that guy. I'm going to kick a ball in his face. We're a soccer family. I should know.
Okay.
Yeah. So the next question, and I think you've kind of already answered this, but we were thinking that art is a lot like sports. There is the sort of the same goals. There's personal expression, there's achievement, there's a competition of sorts, although it's more, I think, internal. And one of the most important things is that it's also a new space to build in, and so whether you're trying to set a PR or you're trying to create something new that's sort of inside you and you know that you need to get out, art can be compared to sports in that way. And one of the thoughts that we've had is that just, kind of like looking at the breadth of work that you've done, that storytelling is obviously important, but art and comedy kind of come together. And you even have a little article about this where you were looking for some grant money, and you kind of made the observation that, sometimes people don't think that comedy is art, but it is. Where you mentioned the pro bono work that you did with the improv in Edmonton, but are those sorts of things? I guess it's an open question. Would you see other opportunities for people with intellectual disabilities to be able to contribute to arts programs? Is it like with the improv? Where would you see not necessarily a safe space, but a place to take risks that allow people to express themselves or find ways to express themselves more? Is that something that you've thought about?
Yeah, I think that's why it's really important for us to be supporting our like local arts and culture organizations, because I feel like those are like the spaces where you can have, say, an improv class for different cohorts, all different types of groups of people that want to be able to do improv, not because they're trying to like sell tickets, but because the joy of doing it is fulfilling in and of itself, and to get to share that with a group of peers is like, it's like part of like having a joyful life, and so if like our local arts and culture can provide those spaces, I think that's the only way that it happens, because like, the commercial corporate capitalist like marketplace is interested in these spaces insofar as it can be profitable. And, it's not always that profitable. You know what I mean? We're not talking big business.
Well,
We're giving people an opportunity to be creative, So anyway, sorry, I'm kind of ranting because it's like a passion of mine, but I really do think it's important to support local arts and culture because that's where these things happen.
No, you're not rambling at all. I mean, art is my passion too.
Yeah, cool. And just some of the thoughts that I have is that when you're going to do something new, I think it can be scary, and whether it's like trying out for a team, how do you encourage somebody to kind of get off the sideline and get on the field? If it's an improv class, I know that I would be terrified. Like do I have something to say when I step on the stage? Am I going to be funny? Am I going to blend? And I know Natalie's in a dance class, and there were it's dance sport. It's part of Special Olympics. They practice and perform different pieces, but a lot of the members who started early were really shy about getting out on the on the floor to participate in dance. And I think it's one of those things where you just realize that people are looking at you, or you just get that sensation, and you need to kind of get away from yourself long enough to really start feeling it and get in the flow. And once that happens, it's just incredible. I mean, Natalie's dance sport class, I think, started with maybe 20 kids, and it's up to like 100 and something now. So I mean, it's really grown. And we have a lot of kids that were very hesitant, who are now like, you got to, time's up, you got to drag them off the stage. It's but I think giving people that opportunity to find ways to be creative and grow is the kind of return that you're looking for. You mentioned not making money. There are different ways to be rewarded, and part of that, I think, is community and engagement and inclusion, and those things matter so much. So I'm very thankful for your answer. I think it's a great answer. Okay. Nat, this might be a good question for you to ask. So we're going to move over to the film short that you created. That was awesome. Nat, do you want to ask that first question?
So the film short that was awesome was pretty amazing. And Tim Shriver of Special Olympics talks about the importance of competition, not necessary to win, but to always push to our best. A desire to use opportunities to bring the best in us.
But I think the comment here is that with that was awesome. You deal with competition and loss, and I think it's important to recognize that, and maybe talk a little bit about what it means.
I mean, I guess for me, one of the through lines that you could see when I'm exploring these types of things is that it's like, sometimes people are well-intentioned, but when they try to care for people in their lives that have disabilities, they end up kind of babying them a little bit.
Yeah.
And that sucks. That's not cool. You're not trying to suck. You're trying to care. And I get that. But you got to recognize that if you treat somebody like they're a baby, that sucks. And so I'm interested in ways in which we can respectfully be like, no, I'm going to hold you to the same expectation that I would hold anybody to in this circumstance. Respectfully and with love, but like, no, it's go time. You gotta go hard.
I'll keep the question lines in the way that they are. So the idea for How to Ruin the Holidays, I'm kind of curious, was that already sort of like in your head when you were making That Was Awesome? I mean, did you know that you were going in that direction before That Was Awesome was finished?
I had no idea. I mean, first of all, I didn't even know that Was Awesome was going to be good, because I was really nervous, right? Because it's like humor is like very, it can be tough. You don't want to be. It's a tough line to walk, and you don't want people to think you're making fun of, like, when I first was trying to get people to watch That Was Awesome, I got a lot of people being like, oh, you made a comedy with a bunch of actors with like intellectual disabilities, like that makes me really uncomfortable, right? So I was not thinking to the next film. I was just like trying to see if I could make something that was good that people would watch.
Okay.
But it was because I met Luke, and I was like, Luke's an unbelievable actor. He's really good.
Yeah.
And I almost kind of got like a big brother, little brother vibe going with Luke. And so part of me wanted to show the world what he could do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where it really kind of started.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And Nat, do you want to do the next question on?
Yeah. So can you describe what led up to talking taking back the R word scene in the film, because we know that the R word can be like a because to like for me, for example, when I hear the R word, I get cringe. It can be cringy, I could say.
But
Me
I will,
too. Me too.
yeah, yeah. So we really are on the edge of this conversation a lot, and Natalie's done a lot of the campaigns that Special Olympics and Best Buddies do. And just for some background history, it used to be to kind of highlight the fact of that we don't want people to say the R word, but they stopped with that message, and they're now talking about choose inclusion. So it kind of went from like a negative, don't do this, to a positive, choose to include.
Sure.
And when we saw the Luke's character using the word in the film, and the response about him saying it, and then how he basically said, I'm choosing to take it back, that actually generated a lot of what I thought was really good conversation for us. And I suspect that's a reaction that you're probably going to hear a lot about that in the film when the film is released, and you're probably also going to get a lot of good conversation going. So what was the thought about that? Because I really like the fact that you're stirring the pot, and I also like the way that you kind of use Luke's character to own it and to remark about it. But there has to have been kind of a conscious decision about that scene. I'm just curious what that came from, and how that kind of built out.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I definitely anticipate people being upset with me about it, because there's going to be people that disagree and they think that that's an inappropriate place to find humor, and fair enough. But I'll tell you, it came from a real life situation. Like much of this film, it was me. Honestly, a lot of this film is me going, I don't have the answers, but I do have some interesting questions to put out.
Yeah.
So just from my experience. And so I'll tell you, so I was the best man for Mark at his wedding. So the best man's responsibility is to throw the bachelor party. So I decided we'll just go to a steakhouse. Yeah. And then I rented us a big suite at a hotel, and we got together with some friends, some of my friends that knew him growing up, and some of his friends, from Special Olympics and stuff. Yeah. And I just got us some food and a few light beers, and we had but anyways, one of his buddies, Clifford, the same guy with the shiner from the earlier story, he says, again, we've been kind of drinking, not heavy drinking, but light drinking. But I guess for these guys, maybe they don't drink that often. He says the R word to Mark, like casually, like, he said, hey, Mark, quit acting so da-da-da. And me and my friends were like,
what?
But then Mark was just like, oh, shut up, Clifford. And I realized they were just like busting each other's balls. Yeah. And I was like, I don't think it's appropriate for me to tell this dude not to say that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not up to me. It might be something that I found quite shocking, but that's where I started to get the idea where I was like, I'm not inventing this reclaiming of the word. It's happening in front of me. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I think it's interesting because even me, I was like, I don't know what to do here. I'm in charge of this party. And if it had been anybody else, I would be like,
throw him out.
Your problem? Yeah, exactly. But it's Mark and his best friend. And I was just like, this is melting my brain. So I was like, if it's melting my brain, it's got to go in the script,
Well, yeah. And my 2 cents on this is that comedy is getting people into uncomfortable spaces and getting them to laugh at themselves sometimes. And part of that, I think, is challenging unconscious bias that we may have, and I think the other part of it is that you don't necessarily think of a good film as a film with happy endings. You think of a good film as a conversation starter, as something that you go home and like you fall asleep thinking about it, and this is one of those conversations that I think carries people further than the film. It gets into their personal lives, and they start thinking about the situation as it would apply to them or to the people that they know. And that, I think, is it was handled really well in the film.
Yeah.
I'm actually really hopeful that it sparks the right kinds of conversations with people. And I can say personally that I've had plenty of those with even like family members. When Natalie was born and we first got her diagnosis, there was a lot of comments from people that weren't intentionally being hurtful, but they were saying things in a way that just grind my gears. And it just since then and moving on, I've really learned a lot about the power of words, and how to be more thoughtful about the impact that they have. And Natalie, you're kind of looking like you've got some idea in your head about something, but
no, I was listening.
Okay, all right. Well, so we just had a presentation with one of Natalie's Special Olympics groups, and one of the kids who came up to get a medal actually said something to the same effect. And Nat, I was hoping that maybe you were thinking of that, but
well, man, I was thinking about that. He said something along the lines of like showing that those with disabilities are not, and he mentioned the R word right at the end.
Yeah. So it's kind of the thoughts in mind for people who are diagnosed, but it's also something that I think that we need to recognize is out there in society, and you don't change society without talking about it. So
that's it. I mean, look, if anybody wants to reclaim a slur that's used against you, and you want to take the power away from it and throw it back in the face of people who are using it against you, I mean, I think there's a lot of historical precedent for that. So
Natalie, you can be like Eminem on 8 Mile, take the words back before they do. I'm joking.
I don't know how to rap.
Well, that's easy. We can figure that out. Don't worry about that.
We'll put that on the list. Yeah. You got the throwdowns. All right. So, Nat, I think you should ask the last question on the film.
So
just because I want to hear you say this.
Oh, okay. So with the film releasing coming up shortly, have you guys celebrated yet? And I mean, do you butt cheeks unleash?
No.
Different way.
No. When do your butt cheeks unclench me?
Sorry.
There's a lot of nerve in there. I like butt cheeks unleashed though, I think.
It's been such a long road. There's definitely been some moments of celebration, but I do think that once we get through this release, it will be the big celebration. And the butt cheeks don't unleash until we break even on the film, because as you guys know, the Kickstarter was part of it, but I had to raise more money.
Yeah.
And that money came from not like some anonymous investor somewhere. It's like my friends and family all chipped in. So I want them to get their money back. And so that's when my butt will unleash.
Okay. Industry. We're gonna move to industry. So Nat, you can ask the first question and we'll kind of move into this.
So how do you think Hollywood can be more inclusive of people with disabilities?
Well, I definitely think it's starting to move in the right direction. I mean, I would say that the number one thing that I want to see is just can we see more complex characters with disabilities? Like, it doesn't always have to be the same exact stereotype. You
Yeah.
know, someone isn't defined by their disability. They're a complex human being that happens to have a disability. And that's an interesting character for me. I do think that's where we're going, but we
Yeah.
still got a lot of room to grow.
Yeah. And I agree with you on that.
There are a lot of films that have been where a person with a disability is actually played by a non-disabled character. I'm kind of jumping into this, but
Oh, a non-disabled actor is
yeah, and you know, there's shows like Radio with Cuba Gooding Jr., who, you know, we love that film, by the way. But The Good Doctor and The Extraordinary Attorney Wu were all played by people who didn't have disabilities. And I think one of the pushes in the disability community has been that we want to see more like legitimate representation by actors with disabilities playing their parts. And I know a lot. A lot of the films that have come out recently with deaf cast are being played by truly deaf characters, and I think that
Coda. You're talking about Coda.
Yeah, like Coda. Coda would be a great.
Coda was so good. Coda was so good. It made me want to give up because I thought I'll never make anything this good. If I make 1,000 films, I'll never make anything this good. That's how good it was. I loved it.
That's probably the bit is that, you know, for a disabled actor, you want to bring the self into the character that you portray, and you can see that when it happens. It's good. I am rambling. I've just noticed.
Well, it's all good. I mean, I think ultimately what you're saying is, and I agree, is basically like, all right, look, like if there's a character with Down syndrome and there's an actor with Down syndrome, it's not like the actor with Down syndrome is getting all these other opportunities to play all these other roles. So, like, why the hell would you not give that part to that actor? It's not fair. It's crazy, right? And I think you go to a lot of different stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's ultimately what it boils down to. It's just like, come on, man. Like,
so and maybe just to extend that, but you know, one of the things Natalie and I were just talking about this, but there's a casting right now going on where there's a character who's a teenage girl who's kind of like really hung up on herself, and she really likes a boy, and they go on a camping trip, and you know, they're able to bond, and that's really kind of the short version of the character description. And I was talking to Natalie, and I'm like, well, what if it's, you know, this girl has a disability, you know, what if the, you know, the bonding happens because they're going on a rocky trail and she needs somebody to, you know, hold their arm while, you know, for stability while she's, you know, walking on the trail, and that just turns into part of the character development of the on the screen. I think that's kind of what I'm looking at is that, you know, when we talk about like 1 in 10 people in the United States has disabilities, and but that, you know, that includes things like hidden disabilities and temporary disability, but the idea that there's that many people out there, and what we see on the screen often doesn't really represent that in a way that people can actually relate to. I just think that there are still a lot of opportunities, and I agree with you, Kevin, that we're definitely moving in the right direction, and you're actually one of the proponents for moving us in that direction. But we're excited about that. But I think that there's a part of us that are like, you know, there's more, you know, we can
for sure. I mean, like you mentioned The Good Doctor, and I remember Good Doctor came out like not that long ago, and I was like, what the hell? Like, this is I can't believe they're getting away with this. Like, is nobody saying anything? This is crazy.
Yeah, also that Netflix show Atypical, also he doesn't have autism at all too.
I haven't even seen that, but yeah, like that's yeah. So to your point, we still got a lot of progress to be made.
Yeah, Well, okay, so we have talked about this, but I still kind of want to go through this though. So there's been sort of a past showcase of people with disabilities, and we do tend to see further in the past more stereotypical representation. So and it was most commonly something like, well, we see a person in a wheelchair in the film, and that's supposed to represent disability, and
Or Down syndrome.
yeah, well, and then Down syndrome and autism more recently, I think, is being
Yeah.
highlighted in a lot of films. So we
Yeah.
see there's certain disabilities, I think, that Hollywood kind of like. I don't think it's like anybody's making a decision and saying collectively, let's go do this. But
Yeah.
there's focus given in certain areas, and there are plenty of exceptions to that. But we as we talk about broader representation, I think I just want to mention that recent films like Peanut Butter Falcon, the Champions, yeah, it was a great film. Speaking of Hollywood or Halloween costumes, the Falcon outfit can easily be made with cardboard and tape, and I actually get so excited about stuff like that. But Champions originally came out in Spain and was remade as a U.S. film with almost exactly the same storyline. And I'm hearing rumors that there's going to be an Indian version of that film. So seeing that there's sort of like a global interest and the story for those characters, I think was really exciting for me. And we see a lot of TV shows. So as we see it, Extraordinary Attorney Woo, which we loved because of all the whales and the dolphins and her attention, her extreme interest in those. Everything's going to be okay. Best Summer Ever.
Best Summer Ever. It's actually a movie.
Yeah, Speechless, which I admittedly watched only because Minnie Driver was in it. Atypical and Special. Those are all movies where there were characters who had a disability, but it was not necessarily the focus of the film the way it has been traditionally. It actually just became part of the character's profile, and they were able to kind of like work with it. If we start with That Was Awesome and we go into How to Ruin the Holidays, we recognize that disability has its complications, but you're not treating it like a deficit, and that to me is one of the things that's so like critically important is that the complexity of our stories are always the relationships that we build and how we interact, and the empathy that we show. I think that's really kind of what I loved about How to Ruin the Holidays is where you went with the film. And I don't know, maybe I might be ending this with a statement, but the idea. And I'm trying to say this without giving away anything in the film, but the conflict that occurred, why the family had to get back together again, and the resolution after was really thoughtful. And I like that you kind of represented more than a couple of sides to that. This is that conversation building that you did in the film, and it's also why I love Toto so much. When you brought everybody back together again.
Yeah.
But that's to me, I think that film was more representative. Your film is more representative of, sort of like the thoughts and feelings that go on in our family. And it's that idea that we can be seen, that I truly loved about the work that's coming out. So yeah. I didn't spoil any plot lines, did I?
No, you didn't. I all I can say is thank you. I mean, the fact that y'all are just so thoughtful about the film really shows me how much you connected with it and how much it meant to you. And that makes me feel good. It makes me feel good that people are receiving it in the spirit in which it was intended,
Yeah, definitely. Well, we love that. So Nat, I'll ask the next to last question, and then I'm going to let you answer or raise the last one. But with the landscape of disability representation, I'm going to kind of combine this. Is there anything that's a disability topic that's kind of burning for you right now? And this may be something that's personal, your relationship in your family, or just through the experience of building these films and working with actors with disability. But is there anything that you have ideas about that you want to see represented in film going forward?
I mean, I'll tell you, one of the most interesting topics for me, that if I was able to make another film like this, only to do, what's the next chapter? What else do you have? What else is worth exploring? Is to do with love and relationships and sex and marriage, because I feel like it's really, people don't want to have those conversations, but if you have someone that is in your family and they're living a life, then those topics come up, and it's like interesting to me. And I think there's room to use comedy to explore it in ways that make people feel okay about talking about it, because as you said, humor allows you to go to some of those uncomfortable spots,
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's like rare to see like movies, like romantic comedies, with a disabled actor and a like those kind of relationships. I think the only time I've seen that kind of movie is when Ali Stoker had a Hallmark movie.
Oh, cool. I haven't seen that. I got to check that out.
Yeah.
So this is our pitch for Natalie to do the upcoming season of Bachelorette. She's
I'm here for it. I am absolutely here for it.
No, I'll be giving out is the paint brushes.
Oh, because you're such an artist. I love it.
Yes.
Yeah. I love that. Okay. All right. Natalie, do you want to ask the drum roll question here?
Okay, Kevin. Every time we do our podcast, we ask this question, and the final question is, what does inclusion mean to you?
I'm going to quote somebody that said something very wise that stuck with me, that really I'm going to carry with me, which is this quote: people should be allowed to do what they love.
Oh, yeah.
And to me, that pretty much says it all. If someone's not allowed to do what they love, then we've got some inclusion work to do.
Yep.
100%. Natalie, any comment? Besides Kevin's your new favorite producer.
Yes. And one thing I do hope is that Luke is doing all right and that he's okay.
Yeah, Luke had a little bit of a medical scare a few months back. But it was so funny because when I went to visit him in the hospital, he was like, "Let's do a promo for the movie."
Oh, yeah.
But he's doing great, and he's going to be attending a lot of the screenings here in Georgia.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, so people that see the movie at the Plaza Theater in Atlanta or at the Rome Film Festival will get to meet Luke.
That's awesome.
Love that.
That's great to hear.
Yeah.
Well, Kevin, I want to thank you for being on the show. In all seriousness, we were so excited that you said yes and said yes so quickly to coming on. This was a lot of fun for us, and we're very much looking forward to the official release of the film in November. So it's been a pleasure talking to you, and just best of luck. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry, break some legs and go knock it out in the theater space. So
yeah.
Thanks, guys. It was awesome being here. What a ride. I almost cried twice, and I got to suck up to Nat by quoting her back to herself. Yeah. So I feel like I got a full range of experiences here. But it was really awesome chatting with you guys. You guys are awesome.
Thank you.